Hi, my name's Jan Lloyd-Nicholson. I'm a counselling master's student at Bangor University. So, would you take the plunge? Have you ever considered submerging your body into cold water on a regular basis for your mental health? This presentation will discuss a study which investigates the therapeutic effects of cold water swimming as an intervention for menopausal women. The menopause, known as the second spring, is a stage in a woman's life where the reproductive journey ends. Women no longer have periods, or they may become sporadic. Women may present with menopausal symptoms, with some symptoms having a significant impact on daily life. That's according to Rogers. They can be both physical and psychological, and both can influence each other, but they're not limited to. They can include hot flashes, aching joints, feeling bloated, insomnia, to psychological symptoms such as brain fog, lack of concentration, anxiety, low mood, and depression, to name but a few. There are various medications available to support these symptoms, such as HRT, which is hormone therapy replacement. However, according to Bjorn and Backstrom, in 1999, it may not always work for everyone, and there could be medical reasons for this. And more recently, HRT is not as readily available. So women can also be prescribed antidepressants, but these too may come with side effects, and some women may not want to rely on them because they can become addictive. So this study was a qualitative study, and which investigated. It was a qualitative study with 11 participants who were recruited, and the criteria for this was that they needed to self-identify as menopausal and be regular cold water swimmers. And we decided that for this study that we felt that we wanted to know why the women in this sample that we chose wanted to cold water swim. So we used an informal interview to allow the women to be able to talk about their experiences, and also we used a semi-structured questionnaire. This was for them to be able to openly discuss their views and their feelings around the cold water swimming phenomena. Although cold water swimming is by no means a new phenomenon, because back in as far as, oh gosh, I've read this and it's stuck in my mind, I don't know why, in 1637, that's quite precise, isn't it? A doctor recommended sea bathing for ailments such as gout and tumours. And it's not until recently that it's cold water swimming has been suggested as an alternative therapy for mental health. There's been for mental health, including depression and anxiety, and there's been some studies recently that have been carried out by the NHS in England that I was reading about. The Health Board carried out a study. There was no limitation to age or gender, although they were 18 because they were working, but they were asked to take part in group environment swimming, and I think it was for 8 weeks. And following the 8 weeks, they filled out a questionnaire. So it was a qualitative study again, and it was around their anxiety and their well-being. And the report showed that they felt much less stressed, that they were able to focus better on their work, that they slept better, and generally they felt happier. And it was interesting because the study also showed that others wanted to join in on it. I think there was 160 or 180 participants, and the numbers grew after that, and the swimming has now become very popular. Although they did recommend that a quantitative study should probably take place with a larger sample size. I added this quote as I thought it was quite apt for the survey. I'm just going to look down the screen, see if I can see it now. Water contains healing. It is the simplest, cheapest, and if used correctly, the safest remedy. And that quote is from Neep back in, if I can see, 1894, which I thought was quite interesting. However, we also do need to consider safety aspects. So this is just a little bit of guidance should anyone want to give the cold water swimming a go. First of all, to say that acclimatation is really important, and it's recommended. Well, it takes 6 to 8 sessions before your body starts to acclimatise with the cold water. So in the beginning, you might just go in very, very briefly. It's quite a shock to the system, and then slowly each time a little bit more and more. Although it is important to remember that the guidelines do say that 1 minute for every degree. So for example, at the minute, I think the sea is warming up, as we know. It's probably around 12 degrees. I don't always take a thermometer in. So obviously 12 minutes. I think the other day I was in for about 15. And obviously in the winter, when it is about 4 degrees, you can imagine how quick the swim is then. So there is a risk of hypothermia, that's important to know, and inexperienced swimmers are at risk of suffering from cardiovascular failure or neuropsychological damage as well, and that's by Tipton et al. Studies were carried out there in 1999. And also wearing neoprene gloves and boots for your extremities, that is also recommended. And I've put a picture here of a lone swimmer who is using a float because she's swimming alone, and also to perhaps let somebody know, if you're going out swimming alone and then after you've been swimming, gradually warm up, have a nice warm drink, and use lots of thin layers. Let's go back to the study that we carried out. So what became quite obvious was the environment and the social aspect. So none of the cold water swimmers originally took up the activity for menopausal reasons, which was interesting. They had reasons such as they enjoyed swimming, they'd swam as children, they saw somebody else doing it. But generally, one person did say that she'd heard it was helpful towards menopause, but she was already a cold water swimmer. So that wasn't the reason why she did. And then 6 out of the 11 participants stated that being in nature it played a vital part. They said that they felt more connected, a sense of peace and freedom. So to talk more about that, sense of freedom and connecting with nature. So I wonder what the difference would have been if we used a sample of swimmers that swam in indoor cold pools. I wonder what that would show, and whether they felt the same from the swimming experience. Perhaps that's something that could be used in future research, and also maybe a study of a group of menopausal women who chose to walk in nature, maybe a hike or something, and to compare the 2 groups then. Anyway, back to the swimmers. They were also able to disengage in technology, and that's kind of quite important these days. We seem to be using technology so much all the time. So there's no phones in the sea. You can't usually take a phone call when you're in the sea. So moving back onto the social aspect again, as I said, 10 out of 11 swimmers chose to swim as part of a group. We can consider that the group encouragement, supporting each other, even though the individuals were part of a group, the participants, you took ownership of your own feelings. So, nobody was making you go in the water. Yes, you're seeing other people do it, but at the end of the day, it is your decision whether to go in. So, with regular cold water dips and adapting to the cold water, the participants found that they could grow stronger, that they became more confident. But again, it was the safe group environment. Perhaps the participants felt empowered, encouraged by each other. So there was one participant who chose to swim alone, and they also said that the reasons that they did that was because they had a very hectic lifestyle, and they wanted the sense of peace, the sense of calm. And they also said that it made them feel quite empowered as well. And it was interesting because a lot of them, they'd said things like, from the negative feelings of, beforehand, of not wanting to go in and everything. And they were replaced with more positive affirmations. And maybe we need to consider the camaraderie of the group as well. I guess that's important. And also, one other aspect that, is to be considered, that when you are in the cold water, your breathing slows down, you become calmer. It's almost meditative, if I can say that word properly. So it's a meditative therapeutic process, which in itself could calm the mind, the body, and help again to disengage from daily stresses, including the menopausal stresses. And another thing is, if we consider people's core beliefs, that's quite interesting. So moving on to core beliefs, let's see if I can do this. There we are. I'm not the best with technology, excuse me. So the results show that cold water swimming may have an influence on our core beliefs. So core beliefs are when we have repeated thoughts which become ingrained in our subconscious mind and then become fixed. So can cold water swimming help to change our negative thoughts, our negative core beliefs, and replace them with more positive thoughts by regularly swimming in the cold water? It's challenging, you push yourself out of your comfort zone. So negative thoughts such as, I can't do this, I'm useless, again, there could be thoughts that they've had in menopause, that their lives are changing, they're in the second stages. So all these negative thoughts can be replaced from the cold water swimming with, wow, look at me, I'm amazing. They were words that they used. I can achieve anything. Again, they were pushing themselves out of their comfort zones, from having no confidence to feeling that, empowered. Insecurities were replaced with positive affirmations, words such as, I feel proud of myself, I feel alive, I am superwoman, and I'm an absolute warrior. I loved it when somebody said that. And they also appear to have more body confidence, which heightened their self-esteem. Women were stripping off and not feeling so self-conscious, although some do swim naked, but the group of ladies I spoke to, I'm not aware that they did. And they had feelings of being proud and strong. And they also felt that they were able to put this into other challenging situations in their daily lives and feel able to manage better. And again, they said they felt utterly amazing, it was magical, everything was heightened. I've achieved something, that's what some of them said. And this is difficult to replicate elsewhere, which is an interesting thing. So they all commented that their mental health and well-being were 100% better, shall we say, after they'd taken up the cold water swimming. So, cold water swimming as a complementary intervention. Cold water swimming can have a positive effect for menopausal women on their mental health and their well-being in general. It could be recommended as a complementary therapy, a social prescription, and this could also help to reduce the amount of money spent on antidepressant medication by the NHS. It could be prescribed as an individual therapy on its own, or it could run alongside conventional medication. So you could take your HRT, but you could also use the swimming as a therapeutic intervention. Medical practitioners, health boards, and menopause online forums could also recommend it as a complementary therapy. So there we are. That's my rundown on cold water swimming to be used as a social prescription. I will just move on one more slide. So have you ever thought of swimming in cold water all year round to support your mental health? In Britain, outdoor swim groups are growing weekly, and this study investigated cold water swimming as a therapeutic intervention for menopausal women, and to recommend cold water swimming as a social prescription. There we are. I think that has taken me to the end. Yes, there we are. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm going to ask if you have any questions, please. I should just put up my reference list, and I shall wait for any questions. Thank you.